Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your United States Navy Blue Angels!
The Blue Angels, the Navy's flight demonstration squadron, began shortly after World War II in 1946. Their death-defying aerial maneuvers demonstrates their leadership with the popular F/A-18 Hornet. Their legacy has been 69 years of exciting yet safe flight demonstrations. In August 1937, Congress passed the Neutrality Act to keep America out of foreign wars. That same year, Italy invaded Ethiopia, and in 1937, Japan launched an all-out war against China. In 1939, World War II began with Germany's invasion of Poland. The United States stayed neutral, and France surrendered to Germany in 1940. Then, in 1941, Japanese planes bombed the American fleet at Pearl Harbor. On June 6, 1944, Allied troops landed on Normandy, France. Germany surrendered in May 1945. Nuclear bombs were dropped on Japan in August of 1945, and Japan surrendered in September. The Blue Angels were officially organized shortly after World War II. The Navy was losing popularity after the war, so Admiral Chester Nimitz, Chief of Navy Operations, appointed Lieutenant Commander Roy Butch Voris to select the best pilots and ground staff experience from World War II to create the Naval Demonstration Squadron called the Blue Angels. There were 6 pilots, 12 people on ground staff, 1 communicator, 1 man who organized the show itself, and 3 representatives. The aircraft for the team that was chosen was the Grumman F-6F Hellcat. They were painted blue and yellow with the words U.S. Navy on the fuselage and bottom of the wing in gold. The pilots trained twice a day, and after a month, they were ready for their first show. It only lasted 12 minutes, but it raised the popularity of the U.S. Navy in the eyes of many American citizens. The team consisted of Lieutenant Commander Roy Butch Voris as leader, Lieutenant Mel Cassidy as left wing, Lieutenant Morris Wickettle as right wing, Lieutenant Ross Robinson as spare, Lieutenant Alfred Al Tadeo as solo, and Lieutenant Gail Stouse flying spare. Commander Voris was selected to form the Blue Angels. He selected pilots who were veterans from World War II and were experienced with the aircraft. He was chosen for this job because he was able to keep his cool in tough situations and had many characteristics of a leader. He was very calm during a crisis and kept his team strong in tough situations. He and the Blue Angels started the tradition of inspiring many other aviators to do great things. Captain Thomas Frush joined the Blue Angels in 2012 as commanding officer. His career in the Navy includes more than 3,300 tactical flight hours and 830 carrier-arrested landings. He has served during the war in Iraq, graduated from the United States Naval Test Pilot School, attended the Navy War College, has a master's degree in national security and strategic studies, and has commanded other squadrons in the Navy. He has shown leadership qualities throughout his career, and that led to his selection as the boss, leading a squadron of over 100 people. He and the Blue Angels are carrying out the Navy and Marine Corps values of honor, courage, and commitment.
First of all, we are officers on a Navy squadron, and there's enlisted people here. So as officers, your job is not only to execute your flying job, but it's also to lead people. So we're responsible for all the people on the team to make sure that they're taken care of, that they're doing their jobs, and and my job personally is to make sure everybody's doing their job to contribute to our mission. And then we also, I think in a bigger picture, we represent the Navy Marine Corps, and that's a huge responsibility on every person on the team, not just the officers, but the enlisted. We got to make sure that, we are conducting ourselves in a good way and making sure that we represent the 500,000 men and women who are serving around the world. So a lot of responsibilities on everybody on this team's shoulders, and just by doing their job here, they're demonstrating leadership by representing their brothers and sisters around the world.
The Blue Angels used the F-6F Hellcat until 1946, which was one of the main Navy fighters during World War II. The F-8F Bearcat was in service shortly after the Hellcat until 1949, when they transferred to the F-9F Panther because the propeller-driven Bearcat no longer represented the new jet age of the U.S. Navy. The Blue Angels began flying the F-9F Cougar in 1955, which was their first plane with a swept wing. Later, in 1957, the team jumped to the F-11F-1 Tiger. Their first show with the Tiger was on Brainfield, Pensacola on March 23, 1957. The Blue Angels put an end to the Tigers in 1966 because of 2 fatal crashes. In 1968, the team transitioned to the 2-engine McDonnell Douglas F-4J Phantom II. They then moved on to the A-4F Skyhawk because of a much greater fuel efficiency. In 1986, the Blue Angels celebrated their 40th anniversary. At the time, they were given their current airplane, the FA-18 Hornet. They have used the FA-18s for 29 years and will continue using the Hornets for as long as they can.
After World War II, Admiral Nimitz wanted to start up a demonstration team to promote excitement around the country about the military. And he did that by starting the Blue Angels, and it started with a guy named Butch Voris, and he stood up the team, and it just started up with some old prop airplanes, and they started putting maneuvers together, and they started traveling around the country, he and 2 other guys, and just got everybody excited about aviation and naval aviation. And from there, next thing you know, 68 years later, we're here doing the same thing, just with a bigger group and newer jets. So we don't want to ever take that too lightly, considering that it started 68 years ago. So it's the second oldest flight demonstration team in the world.
The Blue Angels are an inspiring group of men and women who do amazing things in aviation, and I'm not surprised that they are the best demonstration team in the world. They are some of the most skilled aviators on the planet, showing how good they are by flying in a diamond formation with only 18-inch wingtip to canopy separation. The Blue Angels have inspired many people to join the Navy and remind us that we are protected by the best Navy in the world.